From the surprising fall of your favorite childhood actor to the shocking conviction of a rising star, Hollywood has seen some dramatic downfalls. These 20 actors, now behind bars, have stories that range from unbelievable to downright tragic. Let's dive into the reasons behind their imprisonment and uncover the dark side of stardom. Number 20. Shannon Richardson. Shannon Richardson, who you might remember from shows like The Vampire Diaries and The Walking Dead, took a shocking turn from aspiring actress to infamous criminal. Born on August 31st, 1977, she once had dreams of Hollywood fame. However, in 2013, her life spiraled downward when she was caught sending letters laced with ricin, a deadly poison, to big names like President Obama and Mayor Bloomberg. Initially, she tried to blame the whole thing on her husband, Nathaniel Richardson, setting up a plot that she thought would clear her. But her plan fell apart when investigators found evidence of her searching for how to make ricin online while her husband was at work. Eventually, she admitted to the crime. In 2014, Shannon struck a plea deal and received an 18-year sentence. She claimed she never meant for the letters actually to reach their destinations or harm anyone. Still, the gravity of her actions was too severe to ignore. She's currently serving time in a federal prison in Texas, expected to be released in late 2028. Number 19. Michael Jace. Michael Jace, known for playing Officer Julian Lowe on The Shield, experienced a devastating turn in his life. It all started in 2014 in a tragic event where he shot his wife April during a domestic dispute at their home in Los Angeles. Their two young sons witnessed the incident. What began as an evening filled with tension quickly escalated when Jace, overwhelmed by jealousy and facing a potential divorce, made a rash decision that ended tragically. He initially intended just to wound her, aiming to shoot her in the legs in a misguided fit of anger. But things got out of hand, and his wife died. He called 911 himself to confess. At his trial, it didn't take long for the jury to reach a verdict. After just 2 hours of deliberation, they convicted him of second-degree murder in 2016. He was sentenced to 40 years to life. He expressed deep regret in court, apologizing to April's family for the irreversible harm he caused. Number 18. Danny Masterson. Danny Masterson was known for his role in this super popular show, That 70s Show. But then, he got tangled up in some heavy legal trouble. In May 2023, after going through a bunch of trials, he was found guilty of 2 rape charges dating back to 2003, which happened at his house in Hollywood when he was famous. The court's decision was tough: 30 years to life in prison, which is the harshest sentence possible for these charges. It took the jury 7 days to decide, and they agreed he was guilty, though they couldn't decide on a third charge about another person who said he hurt them too. Even though his lawyers tried to get a lighter sentence by saying he should serve his time all at once, and talking about his role as a dad and husband, the judge went with the toughest option. This pointed out how serious his actions were and the big impact they had on the people he hurt. At first, they put him in a very secure jail, but later they moved him to a less strict one because they were worried about his safety. It's a major change for someone who used to be so famous. Number 17. Zara Fithian. Zara Fithian, who was in the big 2016 movie Doctor Strange, ended up in a rough spot miles away from the Hollywood sparkle. She and her husband, Victor Mark, got caught up in some serious legal trouble. They were both found guilty of messing with a minor sexually. Zara got slapped with an 8-year sentence for 14 counts of sexual activity with a child between 2005 and 2008. The person, who was 13 when the abuse started, bravely came forward with details about being forced into things they didn't want to do, especially when alcohol was involved, and even being filmed during these moments. The court hit Victor Mark even harder because he was more involved. He got 14 years for the same charges as Zara, and some extra ones for messing with another person. The court considered him the main guy stirring things up, pushing Zara to join in on the terrible stuff they did. Now both of them are behind bars, and pretty much everyone thinks what they did was awful. Number 16. Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein was once a big shot in Hollywood, co-founding Miramax, a major player in the movie scene, rolling out many popular films. But then, things went downhill fast for him because of serious accusations of sexual misconduct. In a big moment for the #MeToo movement, which shines a light on sexual misconduct by powerful people, Weinstein was found guilty in New York in 2020 for sexual assault and rape. However, that conviction was recently overturned by New York's highest court. They said there were mistakes in handling his trial, like allowing certain testimonies that shouldn't have been included. He might have to go through another trial. Even though that New York conviction got tossed, Weinstein's not free. He's still serving a separate 16-year sentence in California for similar charges, covering incidents from 2004 to 2013. Right now, he's at Mohawk Correctional Facility in Rome, New York, waiting to see what happens next regarding his legal issues. Number 15. Josh Duggar. Josh Duggar, once a favorite on 19 Kids and Counting, is now dealing with a totally different life in prison. Everything started to unravel for him in April 2021 when he got arrested after they found child pornography on his gadgets. These images showed abuse of children, some as young as under 12 years old. This led to a quick trial, and by December 2021, he was convicted of receiving and possessing child pornography. By May 2022, he was sentenced to over 12 years in federal prison. He was supposed to be released in August 2032, but they found a hidden cell phone on him. So now, he won't get out until October 2032. He's doing his time at FCI Seagoville in Texas. His family was split about this. Some are still on his side, while others are totally against him. It just shows you how fast someone's life can flip, turning a once-loved TV star into someone who's pretty much left on his own and looked down on. Number 14. Tori Lanes. Tori Lanes, the Canadian rapper and singer you might know, found himself in the news for a much darker reason. Instead of making headlines for his music, he was in the news. After a party in 2020, things got superheated, and Lanes ended up shooting the hip-hop star Megan Thee Stallion in the feet. Because of that, he's now serving a 10-year sentence in prison. He was charged with some serious stuff: assault with a semi-automatic firearm and having a loaded, unregistered gun in his car. The trial was a big deal, grabbing loads of media attention and sparking debates about how black victims are treated and the ongoing gender issues in the music world. Megan Thee Stallion stood up in court, and her powerful words tipped the scales against Lanes. He tried to get the conviction overturned, but no luck. His last appeal was denied. Number 13. Ryan Grantham. In what sounds like something straight out of a grim movie, Ryan Grantham, who you might remember from Riverdale and Diary of a Wimpy Kid, is now serving a life sentence without the chance of parole for 14 years. This came after he admitted to the second-degree murder of his mother, Barbara Waite, in March 2020. The details are pretty shocking. He shot his mom in the back of the head while she was playing the piano, turning a peaceful family moment into something truly horrific. After this, it came out that he had even scarier plans, like possibly going after Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. But in a moment of clarity, he ended up turning himself into the police before anything worse could happen. During his trial, it came out that he was dealing with some serious mental health issues, like psychosis and severe depression, which were made worse by drug use. This whole situation not only brought a lot of sadness to the Grantham family, but also highlighted how deep the impact of mental health can be on someone's actions. Number 12. Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic, whose real name is Joseph Maldonado Passage, is a man with a life story that's anything but ordinary. Many people know him from the popular Netflix show Tiger King. Right now, he's serving a 21-year prison sentence. Joe's story is full of wild twists, much like the exotic animals he used to care for. Joe was accused of hiring someone to kill Carol Baskin, a strong critic of his and a big cat rescue advocate. Besides this, he was found guilty of 8 counts of faking wildlife records and 9 counts of breaking the Endangered Species Act. This includes killing 5 tigers and illegally selling tiger cubs. Initially, Joe was sentenced to 22 years, but his sentence was reduced by a year on appeal. Throughout all his trials and appeals, Joe has always said he's innocent of the murder-for-hire charges. Number 11. R. Kelly. R. Kelly, whose real name is Robert Sylvester Kelly, was once a famous R&B singer. Now, he's serving a 30-year prison sentence. His legal troubles started with accusations of sexual misconduct that went on for years. In 2021, things got really serious when he was found guilty in New York on many charges, including racketeering and sex trafficking. He was convicted of running a criminal group that recruited women for illegal sexual activities. But that wasn't the end of Kelly's problems. He was also found guilty in Chicago on federal charges of child pornography and enticement of minors, which made his situation even worse. He got another 20-year sentence for these crimes, but this time runs at the same time as his 30-year term, so it only adds one more year to his prison time. Kelly's lawyers worked hard to appeal these convictions. They claimed that the racketeering charge was not used correctly and that his rights were violated during the trial. Despite their efforts, these appeals didn't result in a retrial or a shorter sentence. Right now, Kelly is in a federal prison, and unless something changes, he won't be released until 2045. Number 10. Joseph's son. Joseph's son, once known for his roles in movies and as a mixed martial artist, is now serving a life sentence in prison with a chance of parole. His life took a dark turn because of a terrible crime he committed in 1990. Son and a friend kidnapped and tortured a woman in California. The case stayed unsolved until 2008. That year, Son was involved in a vandalism case and had to give a DNA sample. This sample matched the DNA from the 1990 crime scene, bringing the horrible crime back into focus. Though initially charged with many crimes, Son was only convicted of felony torture because the other charges were too old to prosecute. In 2011, he got a life sentence for this crime. His time in prison became even darker when he killed his cellmate in 2011, leading to a conviction for voluntary manslaughter and an extra sentence in 2017. These events have completely changed how people see him. Once known for his role in Austin Powers' International Man of Mystery and his early mixed martial arts fights, Son's story now serves as a grim reminder of how drastically life can change. Number 9. Allison Mack. Sometimes, people who seem to lead ordinary lives have extraordinary stories. One such story is about Allison Mack, who was famous for her role on the TV show Smallville. She was released from prison in July 2023 after serving almost 2 years of her 3-year sentence. Mack got into trouble because of her involvement with NXIVM, a group that did illegal things like sex trafficking. She admitted to recruiting women into NXIVM, where they were forced into sexual and labor exploitation. Her case got a lot of attention because of the serious charges and her important role in the group. After her arrest, Mack worked with the authorities, which probably helped her get a lighter sentence. Since her release, she has been under house arrest. Her sentence also included a $20,000 fine and 1,000 hours of community service. In NXIVM, Mack rose to a high position under the leader, Keith Raniere. Raniere got a much harsher sentence for his actions. Mack's journey with NXIVM and her eventual downfall shows the complex and often hidden lives that some people lead. Number 8. Zach Avery. Zachary Horwitz, better known as Zach Avery, seemed like just another actor to many people. But behind the scenes, he was running one of the biggest Ponzi schemes in recent history. Horwitz told investors that he had lucrative film deals with big platforms like HBO and Netflix, which convinced them to give him a lot of money. He tricked investors out of about $650 million by promising profits from buying and selling movie rights to streaming giants. Instead of making real deals, he used new investments to pay off earlier investors, which is a classic Ponzi scheme trick. He hid his lies behind a life of luxury, including fancy cars, first-class flights, and a lavish home. When the truth came out, Horwitz was sentenced to 20 years in prison. He also had to pay his victims about $230 million back, which is a step towards fixing the huge financial mess he made. This story is a strong reminder that appearances can be deceiving and shows how far some people will go for personal gain. Number 7. Skyler Deon. Skyler Deon, once a child actor, found himself on death row for a shocking crime. In 2004, Deon and his partners tricked Thomas and Jackie Hawks into meeting on their yacht, pretending they wanted to buy it. What happened next was horrifying. They overpowered the Hawks, forced them to sign over the yacht, and then threw them overboard while tied to an anchor, all to steal their money. In April 2009, Deon was sentenced to death after being convicted of 3 first-degree murders. These included the Hawks and a previous victim, John Jarvie, whom Deon had killed in 2003. The brutality of these crimes caught a lot of media attention, not just because they were so violent, but also because Deon used to be a child actor. During the trial, it came out that Deon wanted to use the money from these crimes to pay for gender reassignment surgery. This motive added a complicated and disturbing layer to the story, leaving a deep impression on everyone who followed the case. Number 6. Drexel. Drexel, who was once a star of American Ninja Warrior, is facing some serious legal issues. His fall from grace started with his arrest on several intimacy-related crime charges. These include luring someone below the age of 18 for illegal personal favors and making illegal pornography. The shocking part is that it began when allegations surfaced that Drexel had sexual encounters with a teenager who was 15 years old at the time. They first met at an American Ninja Warrior event. What seemed like an innocent meeting turned into illegal activities. At first, Drexel claimed he was innocent, but later, he pled guilty to 2 of the charges. He is currently waiting for his sentencing, which has been delayed multiple times. Meanwhile, his once good reputation is in shambles. NBC has cut all ties with Drexel. They have removed him from all broadcasts of American Ninja Warrior, where he used to be a star. Kayden Walker, who some might know from the movie Superfly, has a story that took a dark turn. He's now serving a prison sentence of 50 years to life after being found guilty of several counts of rape. Walker's arrest came after these victims reported that he contacted them online, pretending to offer them jobs in the entertainment industry. But once he got them alone, he assaulted them. These terrible acts, which started back in 2013, eventually led to his imprisonment. Even though the convictions are very serious, Walker's lawyers have said they plan to appeal the verdicts. It's a shocking twist for someone who once had a promising career in Hollywood. To think he exploited young women so early in his career makes you wonder how many established Hollywood figures are doing the same. It's only a matter of time before they get exposed too. Number 4. Fogle. Fogle, once known as the Subway guy for his famous ads, is now in prison. In 2015, he was sentenced to about 15.5 years after admitting to charges of receiving and sharing child pornography and traveling for illegal sexual conduct with a minor. He's currently in a federal prison in Colorado. Fogle's troubles began when the FBI found out about his awful crimes. The former CEO made some of the illegal material of his charity, the Jared Foundation. After he was sentenced, Fogle was also ordered to pay $1.4 million to his victims, showing just how serious his actions were. Since going to prison, Fogle has faced violence and bullying from other inmates, being attacked multiple times. This is a huge change from his previous image as a friendly spokesperson, showing the harsh consequences of his criminal behavior. Number 3. Hayden. Hayden, once a well-known TV star from the Discovery Channel's Sons of Guns, faced a dramatic fall from grace. The show, which ran from 2011 to 2014, featured his family's custom firearms business in Louisiana, but his life took a dark turn due to some very serious crimes. Hayden was arrested and convicted for sexually assaulting 2 young girls, with the incidents happening over 20 years apart. In 2017, he was found guilty of 2 counts of aggravated rape and 1 count of forcible rape. As a result, he was given 3 life sentences in prison, plus an extra 40 years, with no chance of parole, probation, or a reduced sentence. This means Hayden will be in prison for the rest of his life. His arrest and conviction led to the cancellation of his TV show and destroyed his public image. Many people were shocked by the severity of his crimes. especially since he was known as a business owner and TV personality. The trial was very emotional, with victims giving painful testimonies. One of the victims had to testify in front of him, which caused her a lot of distress. Number 2. Amy Locane. You might remember Amy Locane from Melrose Place. Nowadays, she is in a tough spot, serving time for a tragic mistake. Back in 2010, she was involved in a serious car accident while drunk, which sadly took the life of Helene Seaman and severely injured her husband Fred, right in their own driveway in Montgomery, New Jersey. She was first found guilty in 2013 of causing a death with her car and hurting someone because she was driving drunk. Her alcohol levels were nearly 3 times over the limit. Initially, she only got 3 years in prison, which a lot of people thought was way too light, so there was a lot of back and forth in court. By 2020, they decided on a stricter 8-year sentence after higher courts said the first one wasn't tough enough for the seriousness of the accident. Through all this, Amy has been vocal about how sorry she is. She's stopped drinking and tries to help others not make the same mistake. Even though she's trying to turn her life around and has gone through some rough times herself, like getting divorced and feeling cut off from everyone, the pain and loss for the Seaman family and their friends are still very much there. The courts are still dealing with the aftermath, trying to make sure the punishment fits the crime and helps everyone affected by that awful night. Number 1. Todd and Julie Christley. In the world of reality TV, Todd and Julie Christley from Christley Knows Best found themselves in hot water, and not the kind you see on TV. Instead of their usual antics, they're now facing the cold, hard reality of federal prison time. They weren't caught for something like athletic cheating, but for something quite crafty, messing with financial systems. Basically, Todd and Julie got busted for a bunch of financial no-nos, including faking bank details, dodging taxes, and conspiring together, which all came to light when it was discovered they had somehow gotten their hands on over $30 million through shady loans and hiding their real income from the tax folks. Todd got slapped with a 12-year prison sentence, plus he has to spend another 16 months being closely watched once he's out. Julie got a shorter stint of 7 years, but will be under the same watchful eye afterward. Their accountant, Peter Tarantino, isn't getting off easy either. He's got a 3-year sentence for his role in cooking up false tax returns and helping the Christleys fool the system. Their scheme wasn't just skipping out on a few rules here and there. They crafted a whole dance of fake documents and moved to fund a fancy life that the tax authorities had no clue about. Even though they begged for a lighter punishment because of their family and good deeds, it didn't work.